Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It's BravoCon week, and I can't wait. I have my hair done, my nails done, and of course, I've got all the merchandise in that I ordered. I'm very excited about being able to give some of this stuff out and have some cool raffles and contests over the weekend. So listen to the podcast because you might get a chance to win one of our fabulous pieces of merchandise. But just a quick weather update because, especially if you're in Southern California, it's been so hot here that you may or may not remember it's November. I checked the weather and heads up, everybody, it's supposed to be raining in Las Vegas this weekend for BravoCon. So adjust your outfits accordingly, but make sure that you're as fabulous as ever. So I'm getting ready to be fabulous at BravoCon. And I can't wait. I have been thinking of what kinds of questions I want to ask. I've been working on my agenda and kind of just what we intend to do, what panels I want to attend, all the things. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm also very excited about being able to podcast live. And there's some good chances that I will do some collaborations live over the weekend. We still have a few moving parts, but we're working some things out. So look forward to that. You might be able to talk to or interact with me at BravoCon if you're there, or just listen to a podcast where I'm collaborating and shooting the shit with another one of your favorite reality TV podcasters, or who knows who I may run into. So it's going to be a really exciting weekend. I thought I'd jump on here really quickly just to get us caught up to where we're supposed to be. The last podcast, I spoke a little bit about the possibility of going to the event in Orange County where Tamra and Katie were having a viewing party for episode 1 of the reunion. And so let me bring you up to speed on what went down with that evening. I got done. I sat down. I didn't have to leave here until about 5:30 in order to get to where I needed to be. And so I got done early enough that I had a little bit of time to kind of unwind and I was all set to go. But I thought, you know what? I don't know if I really know where I'm going to fall on this episode because things were so much up in the air. And anyway, lucky for me, I get to start watching it at 5 p.m. my local time, and I had 30 minutes. So I get into the first 15 minutes of the reunion, and it occurs to me that maybe I don't want to go. It's going to be Katie, it's going to be Tamra, and we'll talk a little bit about why I'm thinking this as I'm watching it when we cover part 1 of the reunion shortly here. But I say all of this because from one moment to the next, I was super gung-ho. I had the outfit thought out in my head. Timing worked out. Everything was good. And 3 or 4 scenes into part 1, I was like, yeah, no, I don't know how this is going to end. I don't know where any of this is going. And I really don't know where I fall in all of this right now. So I don't think I need to be at a watch party with Tamra and Katie and whoever else from that side of the universe happens to show up. And so we know that Joe showed up and Alexis showed up. And then I just heard today that Vicky showed up, but I don't think that's true because I haven't seen any pictures of her. And I find it hard to believe that if that was the beginning of their reconciliation, we wouldn't have seen some of those pictures. Maybe I missed them. Who knows? I've been really busy getting ready for BravoCon. So we're going to cover the last episode of Salt Lake City. But before we do that, I just want to remind you to make sure that you are subscribed on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you might listen to your podcast. But especially for this weekend, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel because there is a very good possibility that that's where we will podcasting live, and we want to make sure you get everything in the moment. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Living on the Verge podcast. If you are watching and or listening on YouTube now, Thank you so much. Don't forget to click the subscribe button so that you'll be the first to get all of the live episodes that we are hoping to be able to broadcast this weekend. It will be very interesting because there are going to be quite a few podcasters there. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out logistically. But alas, it is time to discuss Salt Lake City. So we're still in the middle of this crossover with Below Deck Down Under, and my heart goes out to Captain Jason and the crew. Daisy, I'm sorry. I don't even watch your show, but I'm so sorry you have to put up with this group of crazy, ridiculous women of privilege who should know better than to be behaving the way they are on your yacht. Having said that, I have a little something to say about your yacht later on in this recap. But let's start off with Bronwyn sleeping on the deck. The episode starts off first thing the following morning from where we left off last week, and something went south because Bronwyn is sleeping in lemon pajamas on the deck on the ship. She reports that it rained for a little while, so that wasn't fun, but it's hilarious how the deckhands are just kind of working around her. And the first thing she asks for when she wakes up is water and a Dr. Pepper. Not judging, just saying. A lot of people drink Coke in place of coffee. There's the matcha thing. Dr. Pepper's one I haven't heard of, but there you have it. And so the day starts off and things start to get going and, people start to emerge from the staterooms. And then we have Lisa's awkward entrance. To be that girl. I mean, the thing is that she walks in like everything's just fine. And she doesn't even take the time to read the room. And walks in all boisterous and crazy and then wonders why her comments just fall on deaf ears. So everybody except for Britani kind of uncomfortably get up and walk away. They're going to head up and have breakfast. And Britani, of course, has to stay back. And thirsty as she is, make sure that things are okay with you and me, right, Lisa? And so Bronwyn had never joined the girls. She was still on the upper deck, and the girls are making their way up there for breakfast. But she's laying out on the deck reading a book, and she hears Lisa and Britani talking all kinds of smack about her again. And not the least of which includes Todd and her daughter and the whole situation with the biological father and the grandparents, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Lisa, what are you doing, man? This is what I mean. This is the kind of friend that Lisa strikes me as. She will try to make peace and keep things clean until you're 14 feet away and she doesn't know you're within earshot. And then all of a sudden, it's all about feel sorry for me because I'm so nice to her and nobody understands me. Anyway, I'm going to move on. I'm not going to spend this whole recap bitching and moaning about Lisa. We all know how I feel about her. But Bronwyn overhears them talking, and then the girls show up for breakfast, and she's like, hey, let's kind of move over here so I could kind of tell you what's been going on. This bitch is talking about me and bringing up my family again. So they all sit down to breakfast. No surprise that when Lisa and Britani saunter in, things get awkward again. And it's like not even a minute. And and Bronwyn wants to know why the hell Lisa's talking about her. And Lisa is very casually caught in the act, and it doesn't even seem to bother her, which bothers me about her, but put it on the list. Anyway, she ends up apologizing and basically telling Bronwyn that from this day forward, their names will never cross my lips, meaning Todd and her daughter. And as far as I'm concerned, like, you've made the same apology like 85,000 times that I've seen. I don't understand why you think that this time you're going to be able to actually be a person of your word. I don't see it happening. Well, guess what? Neither does Bronwyn, who tells us in the confessionals that basically she was taught not to be rude, and she's acknowledging that somebody's speaking to her. And that's as far as her belief in those comments are. And honestly, there's no reason why she shouldn't just be done with her. Angie ends up bringing up Lisa's hypocrisy and just like, I don't understand how you could be so hypocritical when I just heard that you and your friends were talking about Todd. Talking about Todd, Bronwyn says. Oh, the room fell silent, and before long, Angie is explaining to Bronwyn and the table at large that Lisa was talking to a friend of hers who told her that Todd had been spotted in New York and apparently making out with a friend while constantly farting. Now, here we go again with the potty humor. Nobody told me that was going to be part of covering this season. Not fair. We all know how I feel about that shit. Haha. Anyway, but it really kind of blew up in Lisa's face. Instead of her accepting accountability right at that moment, no, first she had to make sure, well, she's not my friend. Like, Lisa, shut up. So that she apologized and that Bronwyn acknowledged her apology, that's about as far as we're going to get with this. And I'm okay with that. I think that Lisa needs to be okay with it too. But no, she's not, because it's not going to stop. Like, Bronwyn's pissed. She confronts her. And of course, Lisa ends up walking out again. Now, I want to move on to Mary. Is it just me, or is the Mary stuff getting kind of predictable and tired? Now, I say that with all the love and affection, Mary Cosby, because I love you on this show. But I'm starting to feel like things that I have referred to in prior episodes, such as antics, are getting to be more and more frequent and almost self-produced. What I love about Mary is that she was kind of the loose bolt in the box of screws, and it kind of worked. Like, you kind of never knew what she was going to say, and when she said it, there was always a little bit of shock value. Now it kind of seems like her shock value is planned and almost mean, and I don't like that. I don't want that to happen, because I want to keep loving her. Well, the underwater adventure that the three girls holding hands did was absolutely beautiful. And so the picnic was super pretty too. I think overall it was a nice afternoon, except for Mary and Meredith, that exchange. Now, listen, Meredith can give as good as she gets, but Mary was, again, to me, just being mean girl, calling her boring, telling her to go jump in the ocean. Like, I don't like that side of Mary, and I'm not afraid to say it. But I did love the game, the neck off game that Joao, I think it was Joao that went, right? Anyway, I like the game that they played. I think it lightened the mood. It was necessary. And it made for something that we needed to see, which was Angie, Heather, and Bronwyn all having a great time together, fast friends. For how long, we ask? I don't know, but it lasted the entirety of this episode. So then you see Angie and Bronwyn in Bronwyn's stateroom, which somehow got commandeered because Brittany's no longer there, but that's a whole other conversation. And Bronwyn convinces Angie to dress up in one of her costumes. So Angie dresses up as a turkey and Bronwyn as a shark, and they're going to head out to just kind of lighten the mood and ha it up until Angie gets her finger slammed in the door. Now, from what I read on Instagram, that finger got broken during that incident, but I haven't heard for sure from Angie's mouth, so who knows? There's so much fake nonsense on Instagram anymore. It's kind of hard to use it as a source for anything without checking it in other places. And that's just not the kind of podcast we have here, folks. So that's not going to happen. But I still enjoyed the scene, blood aside, of course. I just thought it was silly. It did not seem like it was super planned. It felt like Bronwyn was feeling in concert with the girls. There was some fellowship. There was some alcohol. There was some water sports and, lovely, just a lovely area and a place to spend your day in. So why not do something fun and silly and all of those things? And I was here for it. I was kind of sad that, we had the anticlimactic moment because of the fact that she broke her finger, or didn't, but it definitely looked nasty. And so then who we have? Poor Daisy has to go and flag down Captain Jason to the rescue. This guy, I mean, my goodness, between driving the boat and fixing AC in Bronwyn's room while actively trying to avoid giving her a tour, and dressing wounds, Jason has his hands full. Did you hear him on Watch What Happens Live? He was asked about Heather's assertion that they hooked up. And at first, he didn't really commit one way or the other. And when pushed by Andy, he said it wasn't true. Ooh, I wonder if that's going to make things awkward this weekend at BravoCon, because Heather seems to think they hooked up or something happened. I don't know. But it's zombie night, and I'm sure this too will go south soon. But for now, it looks like they were having a good time. Everybody's outfits looked really cool. These girls know how to do a theme. There's never been a question about that. And they all sit down to dinner. The team from Below Deck zombied out their faces, which was really kind of cool. And then drinks get poured. And Mary points out that her glass already has lips on it. You guys, this is my one diss for Captain Jason. Maybe you need to start helping with the dishwashing. But really, Daisy, shame on you. This is a luxury yacht. It is a super yacht. The glassware should have been polished to a T. And if you're not going to do that, then at least check it and make sure that they didn't come out of the dishwasher with lips on them. Shame on you, super yacht people. Shame on you. Anyway, that was my little gripe that I talked about earlier, because I came off of a cruise over the summer where every single glass was polished to perfection. And I am not a fancy schmancy wine drinker. I am just kind of finding my footing with this whole thing. But the people that I was traveling were, and the first thing they do is inspect their glass. So my guess is that if you are of the caliber to be able to afford a super yacht, if you're drinking wine, you're probably inspecting your glass. So it looks like things are going to look up. The crew's all into the zombie fun. Everything's going well. And then Bronwyn tells Heather she told Todd what Lisa said about him. Oh my gosh. Well, was that a surprise? Did anybody expect Bronwyn not to tell her husband? I kind of agree that all of the husbands should be off limits. There are two schools of thought. If you go on Housewives, then you know that if you are carrying, in this case, a snowflake, then you're going to have to show your family, your home, your children. And so it is, all bets off, and Todd is fair game. But that doesn't by any stretch mean that it's okay to humiliate this man and cause him all of this angst, and also possibly affect his status in the business community. It's just not cool. So I understand why Bronwyn is at the end of her rope with this situation. And if you ask Lisa, well, She just wants to be status quo. Lisa swears up one side and down the other. From this day forward, I will never say another word about your husband or your child. And meanwhile, everybody's noticing that the boat's kind of rocking and rocking. And I noticed that even before they brought it up. And sure enough, as if almost on cue, Britani jumps up, goes pukes overboard, and then promptly returns to the table to wash it down with none other than tequila. Of course, Meredith has something to say about this, and when she asks about it, Britani uses it as an excuse, I guess. That's when she sees her opening to bring up indiscretions by Seth on TikTok. Take a listen to how this one went down.
Why would she say so? My husband does not have a mistress. You're in a monogamous marriage because your boyfriend breaks up with you every time he wants to sleep with someone else. That's your problem.
I break up with him.
Not mine. You're a liar and a malicious, despicable person. And you know what? I'm not interested in you trying to interfere in my relationship because you're jealous that you can't hold a man down.
You're a liar and a despicable person. I love it. I love it. I need the shirt. So it seems like the crew uses this moment to kind of sneak in and try to interrupt and change the vibe by bringing out the beautiful zombie dessert that poor Chef Ben made. But alas, it is not to be. Captain Jason tries to sit down and have dessert with them, and within 5 seconds, he gets up and walks away. And he just bones out of there, and Daisy says, "You're just not meant to be there today." And they pan back to the table, and drunk Heather cares only about her zombie ice cream cake. So apparently some shit hit the fan on the way back from the trip, and things did not go well on the flight. But Meredith does protest and says that is not the case, or she would have been met at the airport by air marshals. So we'll see what that's all about next week. Let's move on and talk about the Real Housewives of Orange County Season 19 Reunion, Part 1 of 3. Andy starts off by, of course, welcoming all the girls and asking Katie in particular if she has any intentions for the show. And she says that she feels like she's missed a lot and there's a lot to say. And then when Andy asks Tamra, she says that she's in a better place, mainly because of Teddy's recent news that she is cancer-free, or at least in remission. You're not cancer-free until you've been negative for 5 years. But nonetheless, it is amazing news, and it's what we've all been praying for. Andy asks if she's still in therapy and if she has any intention, and she says she wants to not get reactive when she's upset. And then when she says that she thought she did better this season, Andy disagrees and doesn't think she was less reactive this season at all. So Shannon, of course, thinks that this is a great time to interject, and she pipes up to say that she doesn't think that she got the grace that she deserved. And so she introduces us all to Tamra Grudge. And of course, Emily thinks this is so clever and so funny. Then Vicky comes up, and Tamra says that she wants her back for season 20. And Emily asked Tamra if it's strategy or friendship. So we start to see the signs of cracks in what was once a pretty solid friendship between Tamra and Emily. Stay tuned, guys. We'll see where this one goes. Again, they are having separate viewing parties, and I don't expect to see Tamra at Emily's. So deduce what you will from that. So apparently Alexis was heard to have said that Shannon is trying to ice out Tamra, and Tamra totally agrees. Katie confronts her and then calls Jen into the convo, and Jen's like, don't, Shannon's like, don't do this again. And Jen does not again have Katie's back. But then she brings up the fact that it was Jen who had told her that Alex said it. And in chimes Alex Baskin in Andy Cohen's ear and says that he never said anything. So Katie is kind of left to flail, and Andy decides to move on. So the not trusting Tamra thing comes up, and Heather says that it's because of the inconsistencies in Tamra that she made that comment. And Therapy Tammy Sue says, I hear you and I will work on it. Growth. When asked about the comment about Gene, Shannon's dad, Tamra uses it as an excuse to try to alibi out and brings up a conversation that Shannon had with Bronwyn. Remember Bronwyn from season 15? Shannon is mortified that she had to talk to her dad. She was upset that it came up at all. And then they show us unseen footage of her telling her dad. And he just simply apologizes for what were some not great times. Tamra's response, I was pissed off. Tamra says she's had realizations and that is why she is in therapy. That's her response to Jen when Jen says, like, you just got to change. And she says, that's why I'm in therapy. I plan on staying quiet and accepting accountability, etc., etc. Let's see if it holds out. So we move on to Katie, and the package was a lot, you guys. It makes so much sense to me when you watch it all together, why she receives so much support. And so we start talking about the filming people situation, where Katie was supposedly filming Shannon having a moment and shared it with Alexis, and that became the basis for why Shannon just despises Katie. And Tamra decides to chime in and, I guess in defense of Katie, confront Shannon about having filmed none other than Vicky. And you can tell by the reactions and looks all around that it's not going to go over well. And Shannon says as much. She says Vicky's really going to be pissed about it, but I was filming her during an argument with her ex-husband for purposes of protecting her. And once I knew everything was okay, I deleted it. Nonetheless, it's not going to go over well regardless. So we move on to the lie detector tests, and Katie says Emily set her up. Emily's perturbed by this declaration and says, look, I don't need a test to know that you're lying. I didn't have anything to do with it. You were filmed saying you would take a lie detector test, and that's where the idea was born. And then Andy chimes in to clear up all of the speculation we heard throughout the season about the lie detector people being actors and that they were paid. And he says that there are very few people that will film conducting lie detector tests, and that's why production found these particular people who have been known to film other programs or documentaries or Housewives episodes while doing lie detector tests. And Emily says, look, if I was behind all of this, don't you think production would have filmed it if there was some plot? And she's right. Production, at the end of the day, is responsible for digging up the dirt. So if Emily was caught around a corner conspiring with the lie detector person, production would have filmed it and exposed her. I kind of agree with her. Well, apparently, we also get complete and total vindication for Heather Dubrow in that the paparazzi was not commissioned by her to clear her name about the other paparazzi news that, quite frankly, I'm kind of over. Apparently, it wasn't a setup. Emily completely co-signs Heather's declaration that it wasn't a setup, and I'm ready to be done with this one, but things that make you go, Emily and Tamra are talking, and Shannon chimes in, and Tamra goes after her and just telling her to shut up, just shut up. So this is what I mean when I said earlier that I did not understand what was going on. Pretty quickly into the first part of the reunion, I was like, why is Tamra acting so activated? The fact that she thinks that she is less reactive is a little puzzling to me. But then they switch over to Gina, who does apologize to Katie if she triggered a trauma response in her with the Kiki Monique situation where Katie told her about the Asian designer thing. And Katie says, you didn't trigger a trauma response. I just thought it was an inappropriate thing to say and the wrong time to say it. And so, again, nobody steps in. There are no follow-up questions. And Angie just simply ends her package by asking Katie if she thinks there's a road back. And Katie says she hopes so. And Angie says, so do I. So what do you guys think that means? I think that means Andy is telling the rest of the girls on the chair or on the couches there, hey, you guys, I hope there's a road back too, because she's coming back. So you better make room. I don't know. That's just my take. I've been wrong before, but I think that we're going to see Katie back. I really do. Let's move on to the kids segment. We had a couple of flashbacks and a couple of, cute little scenes. And Andy goes on to talk about the kids, but it mostly led into a segue for Andy to be able to talk to Emily about Luke. And they ended it with the cutest thing I thought Luke did all season, and he's done some really cute things, including those comic books, which I talked about on the podcast before. They ended it with Shane telling Emily how Luke had told him the other day that ADHD stood for attention deficit. Hey, a dog. The kid is flippin' hilarious and clever, and I just adore him. And so they had a segment where Emily tells us that had she not put any of this on the show, she had so many moms reaching out, and she had never heard of pandas, which it turns out is what Luke has in addition to some of his other diagnoses. But pandas is a bacteria that remains apparently after a bout of strep throat. And she went to her doctor and said, I want him to be, checked for this. And in fact, he does have it, and it causes the brain to swell. And so she tells us that Luke is going to have laser treatments to his brain to reduce the swelling, and hopefully that'll reverse some of the effects of what has happened as a result of this panda's diagnosis. So for those of you who thought Emily was too much to have put all of this out there, I challenge you to answer the question, how might she have found out about the possibility of this panda's diagnosis? I don't know. I think everything happens for a reason. And so then we see the clip of Dawson, and we know that he graduated from boot camp, but apparently he passed out again. And Jen tells us she got a lot of feedback about that as well. And I guess it's not a thing we're worried about, but I'm a little worried about it, you guys. Like, he's a young, healthy man, and granted, the crucible is a bitch for anyone who's been in boot camp. I understand that, but hopefully these are isolated incidents, and Dawson will go on to have a fabulous and amazing career in the military and beyond. And then Tamra talks about Sydney, and she gets really emotional. I guess Sydney came over to go have lunch with Sophia, and Tamra came out, and they had a good 30-minute chat. And Sydney, she thinks, is starting to soften because she asked if she could hug her, and Tamra gets really emotional and says that, she didn't want to let her go. And These are the moments when I know that this is Tamra's real hurt in her life, like her deep rooted pain. And so when she gets emotional in these moments, it makes me realize that maybe she's not being performative and that she is just a highly emotional person. So, sometimes I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, and then I watch the way she treats Shannon in this episode, and it reminds me of why I didn't go to the watch party. Speaking of Shannon, she tells us that Stella's never ever leaving Europe. She's interested in a career in hospitality, but that she loves Europe. And then Andy asks Emily how things are going with Shane, and she tells us that she and Shane are solid, but that she's just had to learn to accept that she doesn't get her emotional support from him, and that that's okay. She gets them from Gina and Heather, and I don't know, is that okay? And is it okay that she said it? I think it's very candid and refreshing and honest of her, but it probably hurt Shane's feelings to hear her say that out loud on the reunion. Just my opinion. Enter Gretchen, 12 years later, and she's back on the couch, folks. And then Heather and Emily immediately start to try to counter the Elsa and JonBenet descriptions of Gretchen's outfit by chiming in to say that they like the way that Gretchen dresses. So is this genuine, or are they kissing Gretchen's ass? Are they just trying to make her feel comfortable? I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. But then we enter, the package for Gretchen, and it starts with the reintroduction. Hi, I'm Tamra. Hi, I'm Gretchen, back at the beginning of the season. And we all know how quickly that whole thing went south. Andy asked Gretchen if she had apprehensions about coming back. And of course, she says, yes, she did. And then if they pan over to Tamra, and her body language is just next level. I mean, listen, if this is growth, then we need to stay in therapy, Tamra. She tells us, by the way, that Slade buys groceries, you guys. Heather points out to everyone, including us, that it's really none of anybody's business about their situation and who pays for what in their marriage. And I completely agree. But then why did she have the need to point out that we didn't know that Slade buys groceries? It's quite apparent that the reason Slade and Gretchen have never gotten married is because Slade has a bunch of judgments against him, and allegedly, and if she marries him, she'll be on the hook financially to some capacity. So I guess that's the reason that they don't get married. They did, in fact, have a ceremony, and she and apparently Jen agree that in the eyes of the Lord, they are, in fact, married. So there you have it with the Gretchen stuff, except for the dreaded and high drama LA story comes up. And Gretchen says she had absolutely no intention of bringing up the rumor, and Heather chimes in to agree, and Tamra calls bullshit. And then Shannon tries to pipe in, but gets immediately shut down by Tamra, who starts screaming. And suddenly it's 2017, and Tamra has receipts. So they flash back to a scene in 2017 where apparently Gretchen tried to bring this up once before. And it all led me to realize Tamra's been rewatching some seasons looking for some receipts, my friends, because I know she doesn't have this great of a memory. And for her to be able to call out the season and them to have the reels ready, Tamra had to give somebody the heads up. Gretchen uses the opportunity to apologize to Tamra, and of course she adds, but it was out in the press, so... Oh, Gretchen, so close. That was so close. They move over to Tamra, who very quickly proves Andy right by on air live bringing up more than one thing that she's talking crap about. And every time someone asks her, she says she was mad, or she had it, or she was upset because of what was going on with Teddy. And honestly, that's what left me with a bad taste in my mouth. As we start to near the end of this episode, they start yelling at one another and calling each other fucking liars and this, that, and the next. And let's go to BravoCon, girls. Let's see how that's going to work out. Well, it sounds like episode 2 is going to be fire. We get it on BravoCon Eve, which is Thursday. And so here's the plan for the podcast. Hopefully, we will be able to give you a BravoCon Eve update, which will cover Salt Lake City and part 2 of the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion. And then we get started with our merch contest and BravoCon coverage Friday morning. Merch contest, you ask? That's right. Guess what? I'm roaming BravoCon 2025 all weekend long with exclusive Living on the Verge merch giveaways. And the only way to win is to listen to the podcast. Each day, I'll drop a secret code word or phrase. And if you find me at BravoCon and tell me the code word or phrase, you'll snag special Living on the Verge prize merchandise. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts and follow me on Instagram at Living on the Verge Podcast. I'll be posting hints and stories to help you track me down. And don't forget to follow on YouTube as well, just in case we're able to get some video out. BravoCon, I'm coming for you. So let's live on the verge together.